If you've been shooting for a while with your Hasselblad X2D II, there's a good chance that one day you'll notice some annoying little spots in your images, those dreaded sensor spots. They're a natural consequence of changing lenses frequently, especially when you're out in the field or doing quick swaps during shoots. Dust sneaks into the camera body, settles on that gorgeous 40x33mm sensor, and suddenly you find yourself spending time in Lightroom using the spot removal tool. While that's an easy fix, at some point you'll want to give your sensor a proper clean to bring it back to that out-of-the-box freshness. And that's exactly what we'll dive into here: how to safely clean your Hasselblad X2D II sensor without damaging the delicate in-body image stabilization mechanism. First things first, you'll need just a few essentials. Obviously, the camera body itself, a safe workspace, and the right cleaning tools. The host of the video recommends using the green clean wet and dry sensor swabs. They're designed for full-frame sensors, but they work just fine on the medium format 40x33mm sensor too. Each cleaning kit comes with two swabs, one wet and one dry. You'll also need a clean container, like a mug or cup, to rest the tools in while you work. It might sound trivial, but placing your swabs directly on a table can easily transfer more dust onto them, completely defeating the purpose of cleaning your sensor in the first place. Start by carefully removing the lens. The X2D's lens mount is firm and secure, so it might need a deliberate twist to detach. Always cap the lens immediately afterward, not only to prevent damage in case it rolls off the table but also to keep dust from finding its way into the glass or internal mechanics. The fewer chances dust has to circulate, the longer your freshly cleaned sensor will stay spotless. With the lens removed, you'll be staring at that big, beautiful sensor, a marvel of engineering but also a magnet for tiny debris that can ruin your perfect shot. Next, separate your cleaning tools. The green clean kit comes as a perforated pair that you can easily tear apart. One is your wet swab, preloaded with a safe sensor cleaning fluid, and the other is a dry swab meant to remove any leftover moisture and residue after the wet clean. Remember, under no circumstances should you try to concoct your own cleaning solution. Household liquids or even lens cleaners can permanently damage the delicate coatings on the sensor's surface. Always stick with trusted products made specifically for sensor maintenance. Now comes one of the most important steps, and it's something that many people overlook. The camera must be switched on, and image stabilization should be activated before you start cleaning. This might sound counterintuitive. Why turn the camera on while cleaning it? The reason is simple but crucial. When the camera is powered off, the sensor inside the X2D floats freely as part of the in-body image stabilization IBIS system. If you touch the sensor while it's unpowered, you'll see it wobble back and forth, completely unrestrained. Applying pressure in that state can damage or even break the IBIS mechanism. To prevent that, turn the camera on, navigate to the stabilization settings, and enable image stabilization. Once that's active, the sensor locks firmly in place. Try gently touching it with a swab, it won't move. That's when it's safe to begin cleaning. Skipping this step is one of the most common and expensive mistakes photographers make when attempting DIY sensor cleaning. With the camera powered and stabilized, place it securely on a solid surface. Stability is everything here if you don't want the body wobbling while you're wiping the sensor. Take your wet swab out of the protective sleeve and hold it so the cleaning edge never touches the table or any other surface. Place the swab gently against the sensor and make smooth, even passes across it. You'll notice the sensor surface becoming slightly damp as you go. That's completely normal and actually what you want. The cleaning liquid dissolves any sticky dust, oil spots, or small particles that might have adhered to the surface. Work slowly and methodically, covering all the corners and edges. Don't rush, and don't apply too much pressure. This isn't a kitchen counter you're scrubbing. It's a precision optical surface. You might hear a faint squeak or rustle from the swab. That's also normal. The key is to stay gentle and consistent, allowing the wet swab to lift away grime rather than pushing it around. Make sure your workspace is well lit so you can see what you're doing. A small LED lamp works perfectly for this purpose, revealing smudges and dust that might otherwise go unnoticed. Once you've gone over the entire sensor with the wet swab, switch to the dry one. This step removes any residual moisture and ensures a streak-free finish. Wipe in the same slow, careful motions, again making sure to reach the corners and edges. You might need to rotate your angle or gently tilt the camera to check for leftover streaks. If the dry swab becomes too damp, don't hesitate to grab a fresh one. Using a wet dry swab defeats its purpose. The idea is to leave the surface perfectly clean and dry. After you finish, take a close look at the sensor under good lighting. If you see a few spots or smears remaining, don't panic. Sometimes, stubborn debris requires a second round. Simply repeat the wet and dry process until the surface looks completely clear. Some photographers like to use a magnifying glass for a final inspection, but an even better test is to take a test shot. Mount your lens again, stop down the aperture to around f16 or f22, and shoot a plain, bright surface like the sky or a white wall. Then check the image on your computer at 100% zoom. If there are no visible spots, you're done. The video host makes one very important point worth repeating. Cleaning your sensor while the camera is turned off can destroy the IBIS system. When powered down, the sensor literally floats on magnetic suspension designed to compensate for small movements. If you press on it in that state, you could misalign or damage the stabilizing components. So always make sure the camera is switched on and stabilization is activated before making contact with the sensor. A few additional best practices can help extend the life of your clean sensor. Always change lenses in environments with minimal dust, ideally indoors or with the camera facing downward to prevent particles from settling inside. Keep your lenses capped when not in use, and avoid leaving the body exposed without a lens or body cap. Even the cleanest environments have dust floating around, and sensors are incredibly static-prone surfaces. Once you get comfortable with the process, cleaning your sensor becomes a quick, routine task rather than something intimidating. It's also immensely satisfying to see your images come out spotless straight from the camera. With proper care, you can go months without needing another deep clean. In the end, this is less about the tools themselves and more about the right technique. Having a cup to rest your cleaning swabs, making sure your sensor is stabilized, handling everything gently. These are the small details that make the difference between a successful clean and a potential disaster. The Hasselblad X2D II is a premium camera, and it deserves that same level of care. Once everything looks pristine, it's worth giving yourself a pat on the back. You've not only maintained your camera properly but also saved yourself the frustration of hours of post-processing. A clean sensor means clean files, sharper details, and less digital correction later on. So, to sum up, keep your environment dust-free, always power on the camera and enable image stabilization before touching the sensor. Use proper wet and dry swabs designed for camera sensors. Handle them carefully, and never place them on dirty surfaces. Follow those steps, and you'll keep that medium format masterpiece performing at its best. With a clean sensor, your Hasselblad X2D II will once again deliver those stunning, crisp, and immaculate shots that make it such a beloved camera among professionals and enthusiasts alike. And maybe, just maybe, you'll start looking forward to sensor cleaning day because when done right, it's quick, easy, and deeply satisfying.